I don't come with initial thoughts of and ideas. I try to do it really as an active action. I come and I try to have no initial thoughts or idea or pre-concept of what I want to get, or the only thing I want is that it's going to be interesting for me and for them. As long as it's interesting, something good will happen in the end. It's a process that has a lot of trust in dance, in movement, in composition, in the ability of dance with its few 3-4 basic elements to convey something which is large and complete and in a way self-sufficient. So I just really I go in the first rehearsal. I have just a starting point, just to have something to do the first day, and then it just keeps on going by its own. It's like a process that leads me. I'm more here to kind of understand the process, which is independent from me, than trying to create a process. I'm more following what's happening in the studio, because once you say go, things will happen, and then it's to being alert to catch the interesting things and try to go deeper with them. And
He just kind of came in, we learnt a phrase from him, he gave us lots of details and then said, make your own, but using all the same kind of finer details that he told us. So there's lots of similarities between it, but it was our own. And from there, already we generated lots of material.
Because the first thing we did, the starting point was a process of translating, a physical translation. I just showed a very short movement phrase, 20 seconds of movement, and then the first thing I asked them to do was to translate them individually, everyone to kind of like, as if it was in English, and translate that to French, and then you gonna say the same thing but with completely different words and completely different musicality and different accent.
So you want to go there? Yes, just be careful of this. Yeah. Let's go really naturally.
Together, so we need to be in the same position.
It's just there. And be careful not to put your weight both left, because then you block your knees, you block your pelvis, you block your back. Always, and you always have, doesn't matter which comfortable, but you have your weight more on one leg. Yeah. So it's like you're going to go into a step. If not, it stops, because it's you block your knees. So anyway, you get the sense of walking. So it doesn't really stop. So no, what you do is when you land, you take this arm backwards to do a kind of preparation. So you do this instead of like landing and going directly.
Yeah, well, when the choreographer is working with the dancers, I think I just almost try to sit there and soak up everything that the choreographers say, or even do, or even how they kind of hold their own body, because all of that is information that's useful for me to remember and to remind the dancers of later on, because obviously as a rep company we only have the choreographers for the time of the making of the work and not again really, and then that's my job to make sure that the particular style and particular essence really of that choreographer's work is preserved and then developed through our dancers. And I think it's very interesting in all the kind of creative processes I've been part of, almost just to have that memory of how the choreographer, how he holds himself, how he talks, the kind of phrases of what he does. So really trying to like write down and remember both the words he used, the phrases, how he says things, also how he allowed the dancers to work, because some choreographers will just give people a task and then leave them and sort of let them struggle for a bit, or other might sort of want to be in there straight away. And so seeing, I guess, how he encourages them to work.
I think for me the most striking thing so far is like with Hofesh, we got given all the movement, or most of the movement. And with Nigel as well, quite a lot of the movement was set, and obviously he comes from a completely different theatrical background, which is a lot of fun, but you can almost not compare to what we're doing now. And now this is great because like it's our movement. I feel like we really have ownership over the things we're doing, but like the way he's putting it together so cleverly and like playing with the arrangement of it is really interesting.
Yeah, so when Emanuel leaves, Stina and I need to ensure that we keep the piece, both in terms of the practical part of it, make sure the dancers remember and that everything comes together when it needs to come together, but also that it somehow is alive. So there's something about this piece that is particular to this piece needs to continue to develop. Especially in Emanuel's case, it's quite distinct, I think, what he wants, because a lot of his work, even though there's a lot of movement and it's very busy, a lot of it is how the dancers engage with each other and with the material, more than just the shapes or the movements, the steps. And we are talking to him to kind of have a strategy of rehearsal. So basically we're going to tell him when we're going to the studio to work, and he will say, oh, work on that, less on that. There are things, for instance, that I know he doesn't want us to kind of polish a lot of movement. It's more about getting the dancers in a different space to perform.
We did the first full run through Saturday, which was our 11th day of work, which is actually amazing. We knew we had a time problem and we needed to go fast, but I didn't realize it's going to go that fast, and it's really solid, and now we have a long time to let it fall into place and mature on them, and so I'm really happy.